Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Saturday, May 20th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below, and if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Kansas City Royals taking on the Chicago White Sox. Jordan Lyles and Lucas Giolito are your starters in this one. It just hasn't been a very good season for Jordan Lyles in 2023. He is 0-7 with a 7.14 ERA this year. In only one start this season did he give up less than 3 earned runs. Most of his games, the Royals have lost by more than 2 runs. Only one game this season was in a 1-run loss against the Los Angeles Angels on April 23rd. And that was still a game where he gave up 4 earned runs and 3 homers. Every single game he's pitched in the Royals have lost, and that includes a game against the Chicago White Sox back on May 9th, where Lyles somehow went 9 innings because the Royals really needed him to go, a good amount of innings because their bullpen was pretty tired. But he still gave up 4 earned runs and 2 home runs in a 4-2 White Sox win. Lucas Giolito has pitched very well at Guaranteed Rate Field this season. 25 2/3 innings, 26 strikeouts, and a 2.45 ERA at home compared to an ERA on the road at 5.14. Luckily for him, he's pitching at home in this game, and he's facing Jordan Lyles. So I do think the White Sox win this game by more than 2 runs. Give me the White Sox on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Grayson Rodriguez and Alek Manoah are your starters. 2 guys that are not in good form going into this game. Manoah, especially when he's pitching at Rogers Center, we know he has struggled at home all season long, and that includes his last start against the New York Yankees, where he went 4 innings, giving up 5 more earned runs and 2 home runs with 7 walks allowed. His control's been way off in his home starts. His footing has been off, and really it just looks like he's had inconsistent windups when he's pitching at Rogers Center. And overall this season, when you look at the numbers on the road, solid 3.33 ERA in 27 innings. His strikeout numbers are down, though. At home, 18 innings with 18 strikeouts, but 20 walks to go with it, 5 home runs, and an 8.5 ERA. Opponent's batting average of 333. Can't trust him in this game, but it's tough to have a lot of faith in Grayson Rodriguez, although I do think he has the higher ceiling and will be a pretty sharp starting pitcher in this Orioles rotation pretty soon. He just has given up a lot of home runs, a lot of sharp contact, a lot of base hits. His last game giving up 8 more earned runs and 2 home runs against the Los Angeles Angels in 3 1/3 in a 9-5 Orioles loss. I like the Orioles to win this game, and I like the plus money we're getting on the road, but I'm going to take the over here in Baltimore, Toronto. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Jameson Taillon and Aaron Nola are your starters. We have a matchup here with 2 starting pitchers that are not in great form going into this start, and it's tough to have a lot of faith in their games going into this game. But I will say I'd rather just be on the side with getting plus money right now. That's the Chicago Cubs getting plus 130 on the money line. Jameson Taillon, although he has that 6.66 ERA, he does have a 3.75 FIP and a 4.32 xFIP. So I do think that there could be some positive regression in his game going forward. Like I said, Aaron Nola, and he's also struggled. He's given up a lot of home runs, at least 1 in each of his last 5 starts. He's given up 4 earned runs or more in 2 of his last 3 starts. His strikeout numbers have kind of been all over the place, and the Chicago Cubs do have the better isolated power numbers in the month of May compared to the Phillies against right-handed pitching. So, in a game where I don't really like either of these options on the mound, I'm just going to take that plus money here with the Chicago Cubs on the money line. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Texas Rangers. We're going to see Kyle Freeland and John Gray on the mound in this one. The Colorado Rockies have hit right-handed pitchers very well in the month of May. John Gray is pitching well himself. In the last couple of outings we saw in his last start, he went 8 innings of shutout baseball, but that was against the Oakland Athletics. This is a much tougher matchup, in my opinion, against the Rockies team, like I mentioned. When you look at their numbers in the month of May, right now, isolated power, they're ranked 9th in baseball. Team OPS, they're ranked 9th. The WRC Plus not as strong because it takes into account playing at Coors Field. But still, the Colorado Rockies have been competitive against right-handed pitchers, and Kyle Freeland's been their best starter on the mound in their rotation by far. A 3.16 ERA this season. His last start was at Coors Field, and he still pitched basically a gem. I mean, he went 6 innings of shutout baseball, 8 strikeouts against the Philadelphia Phillies, and a 4-0 Rockies win. And that leads me to my next point. The Rockies' bullpens also improved quite a bit in the month of May. When you look at their numbers in Sierra and xFIP, better numbers than the Texas Rangers in the month of May. So if this is a close game late, which I do think it could be, I think that the Rockies could have the advantage in the bullpen. So I'm going to take the plus 1.5 runs with the Colorado Rockies, who are, right now huge underdogs on the money line. I'd sprinkle a little bit on the money line and take those 1.5 runs with Colorado. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Washington Nationals. We're going to see Alex Faedo and Patrick Corbin on the mound in this one. I got to give credit to Patrick Corbin because, not many starting pitchers in the league have been criticized as much as Corbin has in the last few seasons. We know he signed that big contract after the World Series year, and he hasn't really lived up to that contract in the last couple of years, especially in 2022. We saw at the beginning of 2023, he was not in the best of form. However, he has pitched really well in his last few games. He's giving the Nationals really good innings. His last 3 starts, all 3 starts in the month of May for him, quality outings, 6 innings, a 2-run ball, 6 innings, a 2-run ball, and 7 innings, a 2-run ball for the Nationals. Now, he's not really missing a lot of bats, but he's also keeping the ball on the ground and not walking batters. In the month of May, 19 innings, only 1 home run allowed, only 1 walk allowed. So he's had a 33 to 32 ground ball to fly ball ratio, exactly what you want to see from a guy like Corbin. And in the month of May, the Detroit Tigers have not been very good against left-handed pitchers. Now, their BABIP is pretty low, so there could be some regression, positive regression in their future. However, they're still ranked 28th in baseball in team OPS against lefties in the month of May. And Alex Faedo is not really my favorite starting pitcher to back. A 4.22 ERA, but an even higher 6.95 FIP and a 5.23 xFIP. Doesn't really strike out a lot of guys and gives up a lot of home runs. And he has a 107 BABIP right now, so we know that's very unsustainable. The Nationals are a team, it's maybe not the best power numbers, but they put the ball in play. They limit strikeouts. I think they back up Corbin in this game. Give me the Washington Nationals on the money line. Next up, it's the Miami Marlins taking on the San Francisco Giants. Braxton Garrett and Logan Webb are your starters in this one. The Giants have not hit lefties too well this season, and Braxton Garrett's coming off one of his best starts of the year. 5 innings of 1-run baseball with 8 strikeouts, no home runs, and only 1 walk. I think he pitches well in this spot at a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, and Logan Webb's in good form going into this game himself. He is keeping the ball on the ground. His ground ball to fly ball ratio in the month of May is 40 to 24. In 21 2/3 innings in May, he's had 3 starts, each of those starts going 7+ innings and giving up 2 earned runs or fewer in each of those games. The Marlins have not been great against right-handed pitchers this year or in the month of May, so I'm going to take the under here in San Francisco, Miami. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Brandon Pfaadt and Mitch Keller are your starters. I like the under in this game, as well as when you look at Brandon Pfaadt, he's coming off his best start by far in the big leagues. He only gave up 1 earned run, or just 1 base hit, a home run to the Giants in his last game. 5 innings, 5 strikeouts in a 2-1 low-scoring final score. Mitch Keller, what more can be said about his game as of late? He had a complete game shutout against the Rockies back on May 8th with 8 strikeouts, and then his last start, 7 innings against a very tough Orioles lineup on the road. 13 strikeouts, no earned runs, no walks. He has been the hottest pitcher in baseball by far. And when you look at the Pittsburgh Pirates in the month of May, their team OPS, isolated power numbers against righties, dead last in the league. They own the highest strikeout rate at 30.9% against righties in May. I'm going to take the under here in Pittsburgh, Arizona. Next up is the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Zach Eflin going for Tampa Bay. No official starter for the Brewers right now. I know Eflin hasn't been the best in his last couple of games, but he's still missing bats, and this is his first start back at Tropicana Field since May 4th, and he's pitched so well at Tropicana Field this year. A 1.96 ERA and a 4-0 record for Tampa Bay at home. 23 innings, 26 strikeouts in those 23. I think he bounces back here and pitches well enough for the Rays to grab a win and a run line cover as well. In Milwaukee, if they go with a bullpen game here, I've mentioned a lot of times that I think outside of Devin Williams, this is a very overrated bullpen for Milwaukee this season. I think his struggles in this game. Give me the Tampa Bay Rays on the run line. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Tanner Bybee and Max Scherzer on the mound in this one. You got 2 starting pitchers coming off 2 of their better starts of the year. 2 lineups that are really tough to have a lot of faith in on a consistent basis against right-handed pitchers, against left-handed pitchers. I think we're going to see a low-scoring game here. Give me the under. You got Max Scherzer. His last start, his velocity was way up on his fastball, which is a really good sign. He went 5 innings, a 6 strikeout baseball, only 1 earned run, no home runs allowed in that game, and an 8-2 Mets win. Tanner Bybee on the other side, he pitched really well against an Angels lineup that's been one of the best in the league in the month of May against righties. 7 2/3 innings, 1-run baseball, no home runs, no walks, and 7 strikeouts in that game. Bibby's only given up 1 home run this season, only 4 walks and 22 1/3 innings of work. He has been razor sharp so far. Could there be regression in his game as a young starter? Sure, but the New York Mets have not really been great against right-handed pitchers in May or overall this season. When you look at their numbers, 21st in the league in team OPS in the month of May, 20th in isolated power. So give me the under here in Cleveland, New York. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Luke Weaver going for Cincinnati. No official starter for the Yankees in this one. I'm looking at a home run prop in this game. I like Aaron Judge to hit a home run. We're getting plus money, although it's become one of the more obvious home run prop plays to make in baseball. You're still getting a decent price with Aaron Judge, and I really like his chances to hit a homer in this game. Obviously, one of the hotter hitters in baseball right now, hitting a lot of home runs in the last week, and Aaron Judge has a really favorable matchup here with Luke Weaver struggling mightily at Great American Ballpark. In 11 2/3 innings this season at home, 6 home runs allowed. His home runs per 9 through the roof at Great American with a 7.71 ERA to go with it. When you look at Luke Weaver, he's in the bottom 13th percentile in average exit velocity, bottom 12th in hard hit percentage, and bottom 8th in barrel percentage, not to mention also well below average in expected slugging. So he's given up a lot of home runs. He's susceptible to the home run ball in the future. And Aaron Judge, believe it or not, although he's a right-handed hitter, a majority of his home runs are hit against righties. He doesn't actually hit lefties too well, at least not this season, with a 657 OPS against lefties. He has a 1.083 OPS against right-handed pitchers this season, so I really like his chances to hit a home run in this game against Weaver. If not, maybe he has a shot at getting one against the bullpen, but give me the Aaron Judge to hit a home run, and anytime home run in this ballgame. Next up, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the Houston Astros. We're going to see J.P. Sears and Hunter Brown on the mound in this one. Hunter Brown is a strikeout-dependent pitcher, in my opinion. He's got 47 strikeouts and 44 2/3 innings of work this year. And he's facing an Oakland Athletics team, and their OPS and isolated power numbers are not too shabby against righties in the month of May, but their strikeout rate is the 3rd highest in baseball this month, 26.8%. I do think Hunter Brown puts together a good outing. I do think he's going to be able to pick up those strikeouts, so maybe worth a look for a strikeout prop. But J.P. Sears on the other side, too inconsistent for my money. He's got a 7.84 ERA away from home with that 0-3 record. The Houston Astros hit lefties much better than they hit righties. I'm going to take the Houston Astros on the run line in this one. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Noah Syndergaard and Miles Mikolas are your starting pitchers. Now, when you look at both of these teams offensively and how well they've done against right-handed pitchers in the month of May, and you look at the first game of the series, a 16-8 final score with home runs left and right, and you look at the starting pitchers' ERAs in this matchup, Noah Syndergaard at 5.94, Mikolas not much better at 4.91, you'd say, oh, this is going to be an over all the way. But I think because of all that, we're actually getting some value on the under, as I think both of these pitchers are better than their current ERAs. That can be seen in their xFIPs, as Noah Syndergaard's a 5.94 ERA, but a 4.42 xFIP. Mikolas, 4.91 ERA, 4.36 xFIP. Mikolas coming off 2 of his best starts of the season against the Cubs and the Red Sox. He went 4 1/3 against the Cubs, so his control was off a little bit in that game, but he had 7 strikeouts, only gave up 1 earned run against the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball, 6 innings, 1 run. He didn't have a single strikeout in that game, but Mikolas is a ground ball dependent pitcher. He limits sharp contact. In his career, he's pitched pretty well at Busch Stadium. This season hasn't been the case, but he has a very high BABIP at Busch Stadium. I do think we're going to see some positive regression in his game. Noah Syndergaard, as of late, actually hasn't been too shabby. They've kind of used him in different ways. They've relied on the bullpen a lot more in his last couple of games. Last start, 4 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. You'll take that from Noah Syndergaard. I think he pitches well enough here for us to get under this total. Give me the under in Los Angeles, St. Louis. In our next game, it's the Seattle Mariners taking on the Atlanta Braves. Logan Gilbert going for Seattle. No official starter for the Braves in this one right now. But, Logan Gilbert, I like the form that he's in going into this start. His last 3 games, no home runs allowed. And overall this season, 46 innings of work and only 4 home runs conceded. And that was my big worry for Gilbert going into this year, as I didn't think his secondary pitches were good enough to earn those strikeouts. And he has 54 Ks in 46 innings. And I figured he was going to have some issues with the long ball, but he's done a really good job at limiting walks, earning strikeouts, and limiting home runs this year. I think he pitches pretty well. I mean, obviously, it's a tough matchup against a very good Atlanta Braves lineup, but he's faced tough lineups this year. He just faced the Texas Rangers a couple starts back, and he had a perfect game through 6 innings of work. So I think Gilbert pitches well enough to keep the Mariners in this game. The Braves, they're because of their injuries and their rotation, they're in a tough spot here. I think the pitching staff could struggle in this one. Give me the Seattle Mariners on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Louis Varland and Patrick Sandoval are your projected starters. I'm going to take the Angels on the money line in this game. You know, Patrick Sandoval, a left-handed pitcher, facing a Minnesota Twins lineup that just hasn't been great against lefties in the month of May. When you look at their numbers in the month of May, a high strikeout rate. Their team OPS is right now ranked 19th in baseball, so outside the top 15. And their isolated power numbers are even worse, ranked 28th in the league. While Louis Varland, although he's got really good strikeout stuff, and I like that, he still also has big problems giving up the long ball, giving up a lot of sharp contact. He's given up 6 home runs in 23 innings of work, including 2 more home runs in his last game against the Chicago Cubs. Now you're facing one of the tougher lineups in baseball against righties in the month of May. I just don't love this spot for Varland, and if this is a close game late, I mentioned in the previous video, the Twins bullpen has a really high xFIP in Sierra in May. I don't really like their chances if this is a close game, so give me the Los Angeles Angels on the money line. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the San Diego Padres. Chris Sale and Joe Musgrove are your starters. I like Joe Musgrove to bounce back in the start, and I think he's had one of the tougher strength of schedules in baseball this year for a starting pitcher. His first game on April 22nd against a very sneaky, competitive Arizona Diamondbacks lineup that's really improved things this year. They limit strikeouts, and they're very solid against right-handed pitchers. That was not an easy spot to be in, and Musgrove wasn't terrible in that game. Then his next start's at the Mexico City Series game against the San Francisco Giants. We know the altitude much steeper than the altitude at Coors Field, so naturally Musgrove struggles, gives up three home runs, 7 earned runs in that game. The Padres go on to win that game 16-11, but still, it was just a horrible spot to be in for Musgrove in his second game of the year. Then in his third start of the season, he has to go back home. You know, his first start at Petco Park. However, it's against the Los Angeles Dodgers, one of the best lineups in baseball. Musgrove actually pitched pretty well in that game, but his next start's against the same exact lineup. It's never easy to face the same team twice in the same week, let alone the Los Angeles Dodgers. He struggles in that game, gives up 4 earned runs and a home run. I do think the strength of schedule doesn't get too much easier here against a very solid Red Sox lineup, but I do think Musgrove can pitch well enough for the Padres bats to back him up. And, you know, Chris Sale struggled on the road this year. His ERA is at 7.2 away from Fenway, which is kind of surprising. But the Padres have good numbers against lefties in the month of May. They have the much better bullpen in this matchup, so I like their chances to grab a W here. Give me the San Diego Padres on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in the MLB. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.